The rain hammered the rooftop like God's own judgment, each drop a accusation I couldn't dodge. I stood there, soaked to the bone, staring at the letter in my trembling hand. The one my mother had slipped under my apartment door like some coward's poison pen. "Preston, you're killing us all with this. This filth." It read, her elegant cursive twisting the knife deeper than any shout ever could. In that moment, as lightning cracked the sky over Chicago's jagged skyline, I realized the woman who'd raised me had just sold my soul for a shot at her twisted version of normalcy. It started innocent enough, the way these family fractures always do in the Windy City. Back when I was 25, fresh out of Northwestern with a journalism degree and dreams bigger than the Willis Tower. Mom, Eleanor Hayes, queen of the North Side Book Club circuit, had always been my anchor. Dad split when I was 10, chasing some floozy to Vegas, leaving her to scrape by on temp jobs and sheer Midwestern grit. She worked double shifts at the library, read me Steinbeck under threadbare quilts, and whispered that family was the only currency that mattered. "We're Hayes's, Preston," she'd say, her voice like aged bourbon, warm and unyielding. "We don't bend. We build." I bent for her. God, did I bend. After graduation, I turned down a gig at the Tribune to stay close, taking a soul-sucking copy editing job at a Loop ad agency so I could drive her to chemo appointments when the breast cancer hit like a freight train. Stage 2, the doc said, but it felt like the end of the world. I'd sit in those sterile waiting rooms, thumbing through dog-eared copies of The Grapes of Wrath, promising myself I'd make her proud. Family first, that was the creed. No room for my own mess, the one I'd buried since high school. The gnawing truth that I wasn't wired like the other guys on the Lincoln Park soccer team. I liked them. Too much. Then came Damien. We met at a dive bar off Division Street, the kind with sticky floors and a jukebox spitting out Springsteen anthems like confetti. It was a Friday night in July, the air thick with humidity and the faint tang of Lake Michigan breeze sneaking through the propped open door. I was nursing a Goose Island IPA, dodging small talk with agency drones, when he slid onto the stool next to me, tall with olive skin that glowed under the neon Budweiser sign, and eyes like polished obsidian, sharp enough to cut through the bullshit. "You look like you're plotting a revolution," he said, his voice a low rumble with that faint Texas drawl, like he'd hauled it north with his duffel bag. Or maybe just escaping one. I laughed, the first real one in months, because yeah, revolutions were my jam, even if mine was just a stalled column on Urban Decay for some forgotten blog. Turns out Damien was a photographer, freelance, chasing stories through the city's underbelly. Abandoned L trains at dawn, murals in Pilsen that bled color like open wounds. He'd moved from Austin 6 months back, said the South's Bible Belt had chewed him up and spat him out after his folks found his grinder history. "Family's supposed to be your soft landing," he told me over our third round, his fingers brushing mine accidental on purpose. Mine turned out to be quicksand. We clicked like puzzle pieces forged in fire. By closing time, we were stumbling out into the muggy night, his arms slung over my shoulders as we hailed a cab to my place in Wicker Park. No fireworks that night, just talking till the sun clawed its way up, him sprawled on my thrift store couch, me spilling about Mom's latest scan results and how I'd trade my left nut for a clean bill. He listened, really listened, the way no one had since Dad bailed. "You're a good son, Preston," he murmured, his hand finding mine in the half-light. "Don't let that goodness turn you into a martyr." It was love, or the closest I'd ever come, messy, electric, the kind that makes you believe in second chances. We built a rhythm. Mornings with his coffee black and sweet, afternoons dodging deadlines while he snapped shots of me hunched over my laptop, evenings wandering the Art Institute hand in hidden hand, whispering about futures that didn't involve hiding. I told Mom about him early on, framing it careful as a house of cards. "He's a friend, Ma. Photographer. Helps me unwind." She nodded over her chamomile tea in our cramped kitchen, her eyes flicking to the cross on the wall like it held all the answers. "As long as he treats you right, honey. Family's about lifting each other up." But cracks spiderwebbed fast. Mom's remission came, a miracle wrapped in radiation scars, and with it, her old fire, the one that had her hosting block parties and volunteering at the food pantry like it was her personal crusade. She started prying, subtle at first, This Damien, does he go to church? What's his people like? I'd deflect with stories of his Austin rodeos or his killer brisket recipe. But her smiles tightened, lips pursing like she'd swallowed lemon rind. Then the invitations rolled in. Sunday dinners where she'd seat me next to Aunt Rita's straight arrow son. Sidelong glances when Damien's texts lit up my phone. "You're glowing, Preston," she'd say, but her tone carried an undercurrent, cold as the lake in winter. The betrayal didn't hit like a storm. It crept in, insidious as fog off the water. It was late October, leaves turning the parks to flame, when Mom cornered me after a particularly boozy book club night. We'd polished off a bottle of Merlot, dissecting the Joy Luck Club like it was the Rosetta Stone to our own fractured bonds. She was tipsy, cheeks flushed, when she leaned across the Formica table and said, "I know about you too." The intimacy. My stomach dropped, the room tilting like I'd chugged the whole bottle myself. "Ma, what?" "I saw the photos on his Instagram. You two at that pier, arms around each other like it's nothing." Her voice cracked, not with anger, but something worse. Pity, laced with revulsion. "Preston, you're my boy. My only boy. How could you throw it all away for this?" I froze, words tangling in my throat. Throw what away? The life I'd poured into her. The skipped vacations, the overtime hours funneled into her mortgage? But she wasn't done. Oh no. The next morning, while I nursed a hangover and Damien crashed in the guest room, my phone buzzed with a text from his sister back in Texas. "What the hell is wrong with you, Damien?" "Mom's hysterical after Eleanor's call. Says you're corrupting her son, turning him unnatural. Stay away from our family." Eleanor, my mother, she'd called them, not just any call. A full-on intervention, dredging up Bible verses and concerned parent sob stories, painting me as some victim in need of saving. Damien's folks, already on thin ice with him, had flipped the script. Now I was the villain, the city slicker luring their golden boy into sin. He confronted me that afternoon in our kitchen, rain pattering against the window like impatient fingers. "Your mom reached out to mine, said we were toxic, that you'd end up alone, broken, if I didn't back off." I denied it at first, heat rising in my chest like bile. She wouldn't. She's just protective. But the letter I'd found later that week, tucked in his mailbox, forwarded from Austin, sealed it. Mom's handwriting again, this time to Damien directly. "Leave my son alone. He's confused, vulnerable after my illness. You're using him, and I won't let you destroy the family we've rebuilt. Go back to your kind." The scar tore open right there, in the sterile fluorescence of my apartment. Damien's face crumpled, not in rage, but in that quiet devastation that guts you deeper than screams. "I thought she saw me, Preston. Through you. But this is betrayal squared. Yours for not warning me, hers for weaponizing love like it's a goddamn grenade." We fought, ugly and raw, words flying like shrapnel. Accusations of my divided loyalties, his impatience with my family blinders. He packed a bag that night. The zippers rasped louder than any thunder. "I can't compete with ghosts, man. Not even the ones you call mom." The door clicked shut behind him, and I sank to the floor, the city's hum mocking me through the walls. A symphony of lives moving on while mine splintered. Weeks blurred into a gray haze. I threw myself into work, churning out ad copy that promised happiness in 30-second spots, all while Mom's texts pinged like accusatory heartbeats. "Miss you, honey. Dinner Sunday?" I ghosted her, then caved, showing up hollow-eyed to her pot roast and passive pleas. "I just want what's best," she'd murmur, her hand on mine, frail now in remission's afterglow. But best for who? The son who'd mortgaged his heart for her survival, or the mother who'd trade his truth for a facade of piety? The climax crashed down on a bitter November eve, the kind where the wind off the lake bites like betrayal itself. I tracked Damien to a gallery opening in River North, his exhibit on hidden histories, shots of queer icons etched into Chicago's forgotten corners. I stood in the back, anonymous in the crowd of artsy types sipping Pinot, my pulse thundering as he took the mic. "These images," he said, voice steady but edged with gravel, are about the scars we carry, the ones family leaves when love twists into fear. His eyes scanned the room, landing on me like a spotlight, and the air thickened, charged as the storm brewing outside. After, in the alley behind the gallery, rain sluicing down brick walls, we collided. Not with fists, but truths. I called her out, he admitted, water beating on his lashes. Told her she wasn't protecting you. She was burying you alive. I broke then, sobs wrenching free as I confessed the guilt that had chained me. The fear that loving him meant losing her, the last tether to the boy who'd believed in forever families. He pulled me close, his coat enveloping us both, a fragile tent against the deluge. You don't have to choose, Preston, but you can't keep apologizing for who you are. We stood there till the rain eased to mist, the city's lights fracturing through droplets like fractured promises. Beautiful, imperfect, enduring. In the end, it wasn't a fairy tale bow. Mom and I talked, really talked, in her living room, cross-eyed cat staring judgment from the mantel. Tears flowed, apologies unearthed like buried shrapnel. I was scared, she whispered, voice cracking like old porcelain. Losing you to this. It felt like losing Dad all over again. I forgave her, not because it erased the scar, that jagged line across my chest, a reminder of love's double edge, but because humanism isn't about perfection. It's about the messy grace of trying again. Damien and I rebuilt, slower this time. Tentative coffees turning to shared darkrooms, where his lens captured not just my profile, but the light in my eyes I'd forgotten. We moved to a walk-up in Logan Square, walls papered with his prints and my half-finished articles. Mom came around, haltingly. First a stiff lunch, then a tentative hug at Pride, her arm linked in mine as rainbow flags snapped in the June breeze. Proud of you, she murmured, and I believed her, scar and all. Family isn't the blood we bleed or the secrets we keep. It's the choice to stitch the wounds, even when the thread pulls taut. In America's heartland sprawl, where skyscrapers scrape heaven and alleys hide heartbreaks, I learned that the deepest devotions leave marks. But scars? They tell stories of survival, of love reclaimed. And in the quiet hours, with Damien's breath steady beside me, I trace mine like a map home.